As you know by now, Kirby Smart and the Georgia Bulldogs had one of their biggest recruiting weekends of the year this past weekend, hosting some of their top targets and some of the top players in the country on official visits this past weekend. We've had stories on all of this over on Dog Post all week. We've got lots of stuff coming up for official visitors this upcoming weekend. So lots going on Dog Post. But of course, I wanted to make this video to kind of break down what I've been hearing about some of these visits, how they went. Of course, I want to start with Arch Manning, five-star quarterback, #1 player in the country, taking his official visit to Alabama and Texas later in the month. But like I've said for a while now, I think Georgia and Texas are the two teams out in front for him. And I think he's going to make a decision sometime in the summer. Now, it's hard to ever hear about bad news coming off an official visit. So everything I've heard about Arch's visit to Georgia this past weekend was that he had a great time, spent a lot of time with the other recruits, staff members, lots of one-on-one time with Todd Monk and Kirby Smart. And this is a guy they've been after for a while now. So even though he is Arch Manning and the #1 prospect or quarterback in the country, they like what he brings to the table as far as arm strength, mobility, poise, leadership. He does check all the boxes at quarterback, not just the last name. And I do think that if I were to make a prediction on him today, it would be Georgia over Texas. Of course, we'll see how that Texas official visit goes later this month. But right now, I do think Georgia's in a really good spot. Five-star Caleb Downs was also in town, #1 prospect in the state of Georgia in my eyes. An elite five-star safety who can cover, he can run, he can hit. Big-time playmaker, true weapon on offense. I think this is down to Georgia, Ohio State, Alabama. It's going to be a fight. He is a big target for a lot of schools, and it's not 100%, no slam dunk at all that he goes to Georgia. So they're going to have to fight for him, even though he is an in-state target, very high on their board, and in my opinion, the best player in the state of Georgia. So he's definitely one to keep an eye on. I think he's going to make a decision this summer. We'll see how it goes. He's still has a few more visits left on his schedule. So lots of time to go, but not really for five-star Caleb Downs. He's been to Georgia a lot. He knows the staff. He's a top target for Kirby Smart, Will Muschamp. I saw Will Muschamp at his game against West Forsyth last year. He's a big deal and a guy that I think in the end, Georgia probably, I don't want to say probably, but I think Georgia's in a really good spot. It wouldn't shock me at all to see him sign with Georgia, but it is going to be a fight. I could also see him signing with Ohio State, and Alabama's a team that I think he's been high on for a long time as well, for obvious reasons. So Caleb Downs, going to be a fight, but I think Georgia's in a really good spot there as well. Justice Haynes, he's a guy, 4-star running back, playing at Buford. He's going to be, I think he's the best running back in the state the past 2 years. I think Georgia has a comfortable lead here. Georgia legacy. Clemson, I think, is still a team to watch. Alabama, Notre Dame. I think he's also high on Ohio State for a lot of different reasons. But in the end, I would be surprised if he did not sign with Georgia. He's been to Athens a ton, was there with all of his friends this past weekend, has known Caleb Downs and a few of these guys for a while now. So a guy who checks all the boxes. He's a top target for Del McKee, and I think Georgia sits favorably with him right now. Raylan Wilson, linebacker, 6'2", 215, committed to Michigan over Georgia back in December. I can definitely see Georgia flipping this kid after what I heard this past weekend. Glenn Schumann doesn't miss on a lot of guys. He has a proven track record of recruiting, developing, and getting his guys to the league where so far they're really successful. So it's hard to say no to a guy like Glenn Schumann, and at the end of the day, I think it's going to be hard for Raylan Wilson to say, you know what, I'm going to pass on an opportunity to play for Glenn Schumann and the Georgia Bulldogs after what they've been doing, not only on the field, but through the NFL draft. So yes, he's still currently committed to Michigan and still has an official visit to Ann Arbor later this month. But I think Georgia has a real chance of flipping him. One of the youngest prospects in the 23 class, but he's another guy who knows how to cover. He's one of the best cover linebackers in the country, but he's another guy who can run, who can hit, and has plenty of size, instincts. There's a reason Glenn Schumann wants him badly and is trying to flip him. It's because the kid's really good, and I think Georgia has an excellent chance of flipping him. Jalen Hale wrote a story about him this morning. Find that on Dog Post. He talked about what makes Georgia special, what he likes about Coach McClendon, what Georgia's pitch was to him. He's a top 10 wide receiver in the country, one of the best receivers and playmakers in Texas. Plenty of size, great hands, can also run well for 6'2", 180. Definitely a guy that Georgia would love to bring in. And I think they've got a really good shot. They're still going to have to fight off Texas, Oklahoma, Texas A&M, a lot of those schools out in that area in the Midwest. But Georgia has a really good chance here, I think, after what I heard. And again, you can read the inside scoop details I can't talk about on YouTube over on DAWGSTRUCTION, so make sure you check that link out. But Jalen Hale, definitely a guy to know. They had the 2 tight ends, both committed. Pierce Spurlin, who was just unstoppable last year in Texas as a pass-catching tight end, maybe the best pass-catching tight end in the country, definitely a top 3 tight end overall. And Lawson Lucky, kid out of Norcross, who has some strengths and physicality to him, but also expects to make a big impact in the passing game. I think Norcross is going to sling it around a little bit more this year than they did last year. I expect Lawson Lucky to have a big-time season as a pass catcher for Norcross this fall. But they're 2 of the best, 2 top 10 tight ends in the country, committed to Todd Hartley. Raymond Cottrell, 4-star wide receiver out of Florida. He was there pitching other recruits, trying to get guys to jump on board. Other schools are going to recruit him. Florida, I think Miami. Other schools are going to keep pushing. He's really good. But this kid could not be happier to be a Bulldog from everything I'm hearing, everything he's putting on social media, and the inside scoop, when talking to him off the record, how he feels about Arch Manning, Justice Haynes, and all those guys, Jalen Hale, the receivers he's trying to bring in. So Raymond Cottrell is definitely one of Kirby's top recruiters on the commit list right now. He was in town for his official visit. TJ Shanahan, big, nasty offensive lineman, interior guy from Westlake High School in Austin, Texas, state champion, plenty of size. He's nasty. He's going to throw the defender backwards, put him on his butt, play till the whistle. There's a lot to like about him. I think I'm a little higher on him than a lot of other outlets out there, but I think if he were to come to Georgia, that would be a big, big deal for Coach Searles, who has got to pick up the slack from Matt Luke and Sam Pittman. I think Georgia fans are accustomed to bringing in 5-star after 5-star on the offensive line. And while TJ Shanahan may not be a 5-star, he might play like it in college. He's a fantastic offensive line prospect, and one that I think Georgia sits in a really good spot for. He's got a few other visits, of course, that he'll take throughout the month of June. But again, I like where Georgia sits. And at the end of the day, if they get all those guys, which is really what my video intended to be about, can they secure the #1 recruiting class? I think it's going to be tough because a lot of these outlets are not as high on some of the Georgia targets as they once were. Kirby has his board, so does On3 and 247 and Rivals and Dog Post, right? I might like a kid more than the staff does. So at the end of the day, I've never been quite sold on team recruiting rankings, but everyone else is, right? So I think Georgia definitely has a shot at #1 if they get guys like Arch Manning and can maybe get James Smith, the 5-star defensive lineman. Again, Caleb Downs is probably a guy they really need to get. And they'll probably need some of their top targets and commitments to maybe rise in the rankings a little bit by some of these other outlets, and those will change. It's all about clicks and getting people to find out who's the new #1, who's the new number 10, who is now a 5-star, who's now a 4-star. But at the end of the day, I think Georgia is going to have a top 3 class. Will it push for #1? I think there's a lot of factors that will have to go into that over the next 8 months or so. But they're in a really good spot to bring in another elite class. That's what I expect each and every year from Kirby Smart and his staff. And I think it's going to happen again in 2023. So guys, thank you for watching these videos. As always, stay tuned to the next one coming up right now. And make sure you get over on Dog Post. There's so much going on. My hands are hurting. I've been typing so many recruiting stories. So get over to Dog Post, read the latest, and I'll see you over on the website.